Hey, what's up? Good morning. Happy Monday. If you're watching this on Monday morning, we get another week to continue building the lives and the careers that we want. Again, why I'm coming out with these videos, why I do what I do is to try to help you to achieve your greatest potential in your personal life, in your professional career, your performance, health, and also money. So this video, I'm excited because I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people kind of write off and they view it as kind of cliche or corny, or they just don't take it seriously. And that's because they don't understand how their brain and their mind is actually working. And so in order to understand how to maximize intuition, gut feelings, and really kind of whether you call it a sixth sense, a hunch, there's so many different words for it, but there's a reason that every human being experiences these. And it's because we're built to experience them because they're extremely helpful. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is how to maximize intuition, your gut feelings, and really ultimately creativity, because that's creativity and creative insight is intuition, gut feelings, and things that quote pop into our mind. Well, how does that work? So we're going to cover 5 main things. First is the importance and the advantage of actually using your intuition. A lot of people don't, and that's the second reason. Or the second thing that we'll cover is why most people don't listen to or follow their intuition or their gut feelings. And then third is, how does that actually work? So how do intuition, creativity, hunches, gut feelings, how do these things come to be? Why do they consistently pop up in all the areas of our lives, whether personal relationships, a work scenario, or maybe a project that you're working on? You have a feeling, this might be the right direction, but you decide to go a different way. Or 4, how to actually maximize your intuition. So how do we use this to our advantage consistently? And then finally is actions for improving this week. So beginning this week, how can you begin to implement kind of what we talk about in this video to begin improving every single area of your life? So I'm excited. It's a topic that not a lot of people talk about because they don't see the value in it, but I can't stress enough how important all of this is for every single area of your life to achieve your greatest potential. So let's dive in. All right, so to start off, we're going to first touch on the importance and the advantage of using our intuition, our gut feelings, our hunches, this sixth sense, creativity, whatever you want to call it. But it's in kind of what's going on in our brain, it's all the same process. So kind of I've laid out here 5 of the main advantages that I think are unique to listening to and taking advantage of these feelings and these thoughts that initially pop into our head. So there's a big difference between how our subconscious mind and how our conscious mind works. And some people want to call the subconscious as the primitive or the emotional brain, and then the conscious mind as the logical or the rational brain. So there's been a lot of research done. A lot of people have actually heard of Daniel Kahneman and his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. So that's, partially where this comes from, but also on a lot of other research. But so what's going on is when we have these gut feelings, oftentimes we don't even really know where they come from. They seemingly come out of nowhere. And we don't know how to really explain them to other people. And oftentimes they come out as, I don't know, I have a feeling. So these initial thoughts, these reactions that are intuitive or instinctive, if you will, given a certain situation, well, the first thing is speed. They are almost instantaneous. We have a set of conditions in the situation or the environment, whatever's going on. And given that immediate response to it, we have that thought come out almost immediately. So in terms of speed, these are the fastest thoughts and ideas and feelings that our brain generates in any situation. So then the second is creativity. So a lot of these thoughts that seemingly come out of nowhere, they're baseless. They're not logical, or at least not, we didn't sit down, process, think, and then come up with these ideas. Well, so oftentimes these are our best ideas. But a lot of people don't listen to them. And oftentimes they see them as, this is ridiculous. No one would ever buy that. Or this is crazy. Why would I ever think that? But there's a reason you thought that. And so that creative idea that initially came to you, now a lot of the ideas will be bad. That's fine. That's how iteration works and evolution works. But a lot of these ideas are good. And so these ideas that are initially popping up in your head, they haven't been tainted or kind of beaten down by other people's subjective opinions or perspectives on whatever the situation is. So then the third part is independent thinking. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the creativity part, but these are thoughts that are truly your own. They come out of your past experiences, and it's your immediate, unbiased, it's biased based on the past experiences that you have, and we'll talk about how this works. But in terms of the given situation, it's an instantaneous or a very quick response to whatever that is. And that means that you came up with it on your own rather than it being influenced by groupthink or anyone else in whatever the situation is. So then the fourth part is limit overthinking. This is by far the biggest problem that most people have when making decisions, is they sit down and they think, but then they keep cycling the exact same information over and over and over again, coming up with 1,000 different interpretations. Now, that's good. We want to sit down and analyze information, draw evaluations, conclude, make a decision, and then commit, execute, analyze, and repeat and continue iterating. But where this process breaks down to decision making is a lot of people overthink. And they'll literally think in terms of a time period that's just, it's too long. So they're actually sacrificing decisions and action and learning from that action because they're still thinking. And so oftentimes whenever we have these gut feelings, we want to actually take them seriously because it's getting us one step closer, they're faster, and now we can say, boom, now we have something to start running with. I can analyze this, decide whether or not it's worth testing, and if it is worth testing, boom, I can immediately take action and draw conclusions from that action. And then the third part is more processing power. And this is, we'll talk about how the brain works, but more processing power is our subconscious brain is significantly more powerful than our conscious brain. And that's because it's able to instantaneously access, or not instantaneously, but very quickly access all of our deepest experiences. And it's able to draw conclusions and associations from millions of memories and be able to immediately generalize and project onto whatever our current situation is an initial response. And that is something that our conscious brain cannot do. It would take too much time. It's like putting in a series of mathematical, math problems into a computer and then watching it go, and then it pops out an answer. Well, we have not consciously watched how that works. All we saw was the initial response or whatever the answer was. Well, that's kind of similar to what's going on in our brain. So in terms of the more processing power, there's a lot more, it's using a lot more conclusions from our past than our conscious mind would given whatever the situation is. All right, so now we can talk about the second main point of the video, which is why do most people not listen to or take action on their intuitive ideas? So this is something that I'm sure that you've personally experienced where you're either sitting at a table or maybe you're in a relationship or maybe you had to make a decision either personally or professionally and you had an initial thought that came to your mind. And when that thought came to your mind or that feeling came to your mind, you don't really know why. You don't know how it came to be. You don't know where it came from. Is you had this thought come to your mind and if you were to try to explain it to somebody, it wouldn't really make sense because you wouldn't know how to start explaining it. You just have a feeling. And so that's where kind of this phrase is, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling, is a lot of people find themselves in that situation when they have these intuitive or gut feelings. So one of the important things to keep in mind is that society is logic-based. Now, what I mean by that is we as a society, both Western Hemisphere as well as Eastern Hemisphere, is we are driven to make logical decisions. And we believe that in order to make a logical decision, there needs to be evidence, facts, figures, precedents, or some type of tangible logic that we can look at, analyze, crunch numbers, big data, draw conclusions, and then ultimately make a decision. Now, yes, we need all of that. Society would not be in a good place without logical decisions. But many of the journeys or many of the thought experiments that originate, that are then tested using logic, originate as intuitions, creative insights, ideas that we don't really know where they come from or why we specifically think that way, but boom, we have an idea. Hey, let's test this. Well, how can we test it? well, logically, we could do X, Y, and Z. So society is very logic-based. So that's important because of that creates uncertainty. So a lot of people, when they have these ideas, they immediately doubt them. And it's because in their mind, they know that if someone were to challenge their idea, all right, why did you come to think that? Why do you believe that? Why do you think that's a good idea? Well, they know that the best response that they'd have at the very beginning when they have that idea is, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling. And most people are terrified of that coming out in a discussion with someone who they respect, someone who is maybe their superior or their boss or their manager or a mentor or someone that they highly respect or someone else within the industry or a colleague or maybe even a personal relationship, a friendship, a family member, an intimate relationship. This phrase means to most people inside their own mind, they associate this to meaning I'm not smart, I'm not good, I don't know. And so what that creates is fear and self-doubt. We're afraid of looking stupid, of being embarrassed, of being humiliated, of being wrong, of failing, of being negatively judged by other people. You know, what if someone doesn't like my idea and then I come across as stupid and now I've lost their respect, and so forever going forward, they're going to consider me as not the smartest person on the team, and then they'll no longer listen to me. Well, it's probably better for me to shut up, not voice my opinion, and conform and defer to whatever the group's idea is or whatever the most senior person in the area or in the environment thinks, in the situation thinks. So that's logically what's going on in most people's minds. When they have these intuitive ideas or creative insights or these gut feelings, hunches, they know that they're uncertain about where it came from. And that's because that's the subconscious accessing all of the information that you have and coming up with an idea that you're not really sure, but you have a feeling. Well, that's going to create the fear and the self-doubt of, if I voice this, how is it going to be received by other people? And because most people move stronger away from pain, or they care more about risk and certainty in a situation of not looking dumb or not embarrassing themselves to other people, that they will usually kill their own ideas or their own thoughts, and instead they conform to whatever the group census is, or they defer to whoever the most senior person is, or quote, the most experienced person is. Even if they disagree, if their initial gut feeling or their thought is, I disagree with that, most people will still kill their own idea. That's crazy. And so instead, we want to be able to voice these opinions, gather insight from the group or from the other person, and then stress test it. And so we'll talk about that coming up. But first, next part is let's talk about how the intuition actually works. All right, so we can break down how this intuition process works in roughly 4 steps. Now, is this everything? No. But I think in terms of this video and understanding what is happening whenever these thoughts or these gut feelings come into your mind, this is essentially what's going on in the background, in your subconscious mind. So the very first thing is we accrue experience. So as we live, we have 5 ways of bringing in information and interpreting information. We have sight, sound, taste, feel, and smell. Well, those 5 senses are how we interpret the world. Well, as we live, day after day, experience after experience, situation after situation, and from past decisions, we learn what worked and what didn't work. Well, we continue building this experience. And so every single time that there's a situation where our brain needs to interpret something, the very first thing it kind of asks itself is, what does this even mean? And there are kind of 3 priority filters that your brain immediately runs whenever it's interpreting something. So the first is this, survival wise? What do I need to do in order to survive? Now, we all know that, we've all heard that, the caveman mentality, whatever. So the survival is as relevant? Well, that's essentially what drives fear. That is why most people feel fear, self-doubt, uncertainty. That's all coming from the survival part of our brain. But then the second part is conservation of energy. We are wired to conserve energy. And that's why a lot of people, if they have to make a decision between something hard or something easy, most people choose what's easy. Why? Because they don't want to exert the energy. And that's coming from the subconscious primitive part of the brain. Why exert energy if we don't need to? So then the third part is goal optimization. So this is where consciously, we need to set goals in our lives. And we need to set goals for our careers. We need to set goals for our relationships. Like, if we don't have a set goal, our mind literally has no idea what to optimize for, other than for survival, and energy conservation. So, and a lot of people, that just means money. Money equals survival and conservation of energy. I can buy things that are easy. I can buy other people to do the work, or I can pay other people to do the work. I can buy things. So it's, most people are stranded within these first two variables, or these first two filters. And the third is arguably the most important. That's how we build lives and careers that we actually desire. And so this continues happening every single day, every single moment of our lives. And so what that means is, over our lifetime, these experiences compound. And what our brain does is it starts associating and connecting everything. It's trying to draw meaning. Does this relate to this? Does this relate to this? And it starts compounding all of the neural associations within our brain. So then, whenever there's a situation, so let's say that you're in a work environment and someone proposes an idea. Well, you're going to immediately have a gut reaction or a thought come to your mind. That's a good idea. That's not a good idea. And you don't essentially, in that moment, you don't know exactly why that's coming to your brain. Now, maybe after 5 seconds, you've been able to consciously start thinking about it. But the immediate gut reaction is usually going to be coming from your network of compounding experiences in your brain. And you're projecting that onto whatever the current situation is, informing your initial thought, which is your intuitive thought about the thing, whatever the situation is. So this is super important to understand, because a lot of people, as we talked about in the previous section, when they have that self-doubt or the fear of voicing their opinion, their brain is working for them. They really are coming up with good thoughts and good ideas most of the time, or maybe not most of the time, but at least part of the time. But they kill most of them because of that fear. But if they were to understand that this is how their brain is really working, it's working for you. It's trying to serve you. It is trying to optimize for whatever the current situation is. It's trying to give you the best answer based on everything that's stored in it. And that's why we need to continue doing personal development. We need to take risk. We need more experiences, both personal and professional, because the more experiences and the more knowledge that we accrue and compound, our initial intuition and our gut feelings actually become a lot more accurate. Well, that speeds up the rate at which we can form hypotheses and ultimately decide what to take action on faster. And then we can iterate, receive feedback, and start improving our lives significantly faster. So we actually compress the time frames that we can make decision the more that we feed this subconscious process. So in a nutshell, that's how the intuition works. So whenever you have that gut feeling or a hunch or anything like that, know that your brain is drawing on all of your past experience, and it's accessing millions of potential memories. And it cannot consciously tell you, hey, remember that one time 7 years ago and 5 years ago and 3 years ago, and when she said or he said X, or when you experienced this. Like, our mind can't just feed us a million different things at the same time, and then we consciously process every single one. So instead, what it does is it goes in the back, kind of accesses everything, draws an initial conclusion using generalization and pattern recognition, projects it onto this situation, and then gives you a feeling. And that feeling is up to us to interpret and actually apply to the situation. And so then that's going to be the fourth part. How can we maximize that? Cool. So there are really 5 main ways that we can take advantage and maximize how these gut feelings, these intuitions, these hunches, how we can maximize these in our lives. So the very first step is we need to actually listen to it. Before we kill it or write it off and believe that, that's a crazy idea, or that's ridiculous, or no one's going to listen to me, or that's not even worthwhile. Like, there's so many things, or people just doubt themselves. They're like, I don't know enough. Who am I to think this? And so the very first thing we do is, before you kill it or write it off, just listen to it. Actually ask yourself, what is this thought? Is it, what is this feeling? Is it a good feeling? Is it a bad feeling? Is it regarding me, or is it regarding someone else? Like, listen to it and take some time to actually sit down and define it. So whenever it's an important decision, one of the ways that I've learned to do it is you sit down with a blank sheet of paper, whether it's a journal or literally just, 8.5 by 11, like a computer sheet of paper, and just jot down the question, why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking this? And then just let something flow. Because what that's going to do is you're going to start clawing backwards and start asking yourselves the question, why and what? And the why is, why am I feeling this way? Or why am I thinking this? But then the what is going to be, that's the second question is, where is this coming from? What am I thinking about? Or what has happened in the past? Or what experiences have I had that are helping me or pushing me to draw these initial conclusions? And so this is you kind of your own conscious way of retrieving the past information to remember, okay, what has happened? Where is this coming from? Did something happen in the past that would lead me to believe this, this thought or this feeling about the current future? So these are super important questions because this is going to get you to do the internal reflection to define, where is this thing coming from? Where is this gut feeling coming from? So then the third is question perspective. So I've actually done previous videos where I talk about subjective realities, perspective, where it's like people are biased naturally based on their environment, based on how they grew up, what they learned, their past experiences. And I mean, we talked a little bit about it here, where it's compounding associations, compounding experiences. Well, our past experiences and how we perceive the world is going to affect the decisions that we make and really our thoughts about everything. And so you might have experiences from the past that are very biased or very one-sided. And so when you have this initial gut feeling for whatever this situation is, your perspective might be very biased based on your own personal experiences. And because of that, your initial gut feeling or thought could be extremely different from everyone else in the room. Well, that could be good or bad. And so that's for you to initially think about before you do voice it, is you want to ask yourself that tough question, why and what, where is this coming from? But then the secondly is, am I extremely biased in this situation? And if I am, I really do need to rigorously check myself and think through this before I voice it to someone. And so that kind of comes down to the fourth part, which is challenge it. And so you don't kill it. You figure out where it's coming from. You figure out, am I very biased based on what is happening and why I'm coming up with this idea? But then you want to kind of separate that. You want to detach yourself from that idea. So think of it as you've created this idea intuitively. You've defined it. You've figured out roughly kind of why you believe that this came to your mind, and then you set it aside. And then what you want to do is then you want to sit down and logically think through the situation. And this is going to be a lot more limited because you're not going to have your wealth of knowledge from the past. Instead, all you're going to do is ask yourself, what evidence, what facts, what figures, what objective information do I have about the situation right now? And I'm going to consciously, rationally, and logically think through, based on this information, what do I believe? And so you're going to be creating two different ideas. One is kind of your initial subjective, intuitive thought that popped in. You defined it, you figure out where it came from, but then you separated yourself from that, and then you kind of formed your logic-based idea. And then what you want to do is, again, detach yourself from that. So you're not emotionally invested in either of these ideas. And this is, I can't stress how important that point is, because a lot of people, their ideas become their self-worth. If someone shoots down my idea, well, you're shooting me down. I'm worthless, I'm stupid, I'm whatever. And it's super important that we don't get attached to ideas. We want to be able to debate with someone, whether it's a friend, a family member, a colleague, a boss, a manager, a leader, someone in the community, a personal relationship, intimate relationship, like whoever. We want to be able to express opinions without attacking each other. And so in order to do that, it's super important that you detach your emotions from the idea. So collectively, as a group or with a partner, you're attacking an idea and poking holes in it and figuring out, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Why do we think that? Based on what? So it's you're proposing two different ideas and you're not emotionally attached. All right, I beat that in there, but super important. Do not emotionally attach yourself. So then the fifth part is then you want to, in your own mind first, you want to compare these. And you want to ask yourself, which one do I believe is more believable? Which one do I believe is the best solution or thought or interpretation or idea for a given situation? And once you've gone through that kind of self-check process, whichever one you believe is best, boom, voice that to the group, tell that to the partner, tell that to the friend, to the family member, to the boss, the colleague, the investor, whoever it is, the board. If you're a senior director and you're presenting to the board, or you're a senior executive, it's you, once you've done kind of that own logic, this thought process, if someone were to ask you, all right, well, why do you think that? Or where's that idea coming from? Well, you've already gone through the necessary steps. But importantly is you have not killed your creativity. You have not killed your intuitive idea. Sometimes this idea will be a lot better than the logic-driven idea. And you've actually taken the time to figure out, why do you believe this? Well, there have been numerous times in the past where X, Y, and Z happened. And, given the facts and the situation right now, I'm seeing a pattern here. I'm seeing a trend. Well, that is going to be a lot easier to explain to other people than just kind of immediately having come to your head and then voicing it. And then one, you feel, I think this, but I'm not sure why. And then if other people, poke holes in the idea, well, you probably also have not detached yourself. So you're going to take it personally, you're going to defend, or you're going to walk away with your tail between your legs and feel stupid, embarrassed, humiliated, disrespected, or any of the other negative feelings. So this is the process for still maximizing your creative ideas, your intuition, your gut feelings, but you're also stress testing it against a more logical approach, comparing the two, deciding for yourself which of these is the best idea, and then at that point, then you voice it to other people because you're prepared to actually talk about it. All right, so that was number 4, and then now we can talk about actions for this week and how can you begin implementing this to improve your life, achieve your greatest potential, and build the life and career that you truly do desire. Awesome. All right, so we have 3 main steps for you to begin taking this week and implementing in your personal life and in your professional career. So the very first part is acknowledge. So now that we've kind of gone over in 3 and 4, so how does intuition work? And then 4, how can we analyze it and challenge it and stress test it? Well, it's now that you understand that, begin using this. This is how your brain works, and when you understand how it works, you're going to have a lot more confidence in these gut feelings, these intuition. And you've probably heard people say, trust the process, or trust yourself, trust in the intuition. And really, that's all they're saying is believe in these ideas, challenge them, and see where they go, see where they lead you. So the very first thing this week is begin to acknowledge whenever you have these gut feelings or intuitions or hunches, like senses about something, acknowledge it. Know that it's not stupid. It's not a ridiculous thought that just popped in your mind and you just need to kill it or write it off. It's acknowledge it and actually give it value. Give it weight in your decision-making process. But then the second part is analyze it. And so that's what we talked about in step 4 is how do you maximize it? Those 5 steps of going through listening to it, defining it, understanding where that came from, the what and the why, and then being able to ask yourself, is this based on a very biased perspective? 4, challenge it logically, and then 5, get it out there. Compare them, decide which one's the best, and then get it out into the world. And that's also the third point, is voice it. Most people will live their entire careers and their entire lives not voicing their opinions. And because of that, their careers are not going to compound. Their relationships are never going to be that extreme, dense passion because they're never fully communicating with someone. And these thoughts, these intuitions that are coming to your mind, those are your deepest thoughts, your deepest feelings. And if you're not communicating those, then the value of those feelings and those thoughts will never be fully monetized or fully appreciated by the world, by anyone around you. And so it's your responsibility, all of our responsibility, to value ourselves, to value our feelings and our thoughts, and have the confidence and the courage to actually get it out there. But a lot of people don't have that sense of confidence or the courage if they don't understand what their brain is actually doing, how it's serving up these gut feelings, these intuitive ideas. So that's kind of the final part I've got for you is start trusting and believing in yourself. And it's not a ridiculous idea of just this cliche or affirmation, I believe in myself, I believe in myself. It's logically, this is what's going on in your brain. You have millions of past experiences. All of them are real experiences. Your brain is associating all of those experiences together And whatever the given situation is, it's serving an initial response. Give it value, believe in yourself, trust in that, analyze it, and then voice it to the world. It will take you to new heights, both personally and professionally. Your relationships will get better. Your ideas professionally and how you add value to your company, to your team, to your projects, all of that will begin improving because your creative ideas are going to be adding value. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I come out with these videos every Monday morning. Again, my mission is to help you to achieve your greatest potential, both personally and professionally. And also, if right now you're watching this video and you're in a place where your life and your career are not where you want them to be, for any given reason, I encourage you to do one of two things. So either go to my website, I have a free case study that you can watch. It's a video just like this, and I literally walk you through how you can begin to change that. How can you achieve the life and the career that you actually desire? There's three main steps. And then secondly is if you're looking to take action immediately, reach out to me. I would love to have the opportunity to speak with you, even if it's 15 minutes, to share what's possible for you. A lot of people believe that their background defines them, and that's just not true. So have an amazing week. Keep building, keep succeeding, and I will see you next Monday.